This is Hoosier Ag Today. I'm Andy Eubank, and Bill Mullen, Director of Agronomic Services at Seed Consultants Incorporated, and I headed for southern Indiana this week. On a very hot and humid day, Bill and I checked out a Seed Consultants replicated research corn plot along with one of their soybean plots. Let's get an update on how things look in that part of Indiana.
On my way over, I came from the east out of Ohio, heading west, and I went down to Louisville, picked up Interstate 64, and pretty much crossed over into Indiana, all right? Really, when you think about all the water issues there, and there's a lot of bottom grounds, low-lying fields along that stretch of 64 in the southern portion of Indiana, the crops look very good. You don't see the variability in the fields of corn. It's pretty uniform, all right? A nice stand out there, the beans. Nice and green and healthy. You don't see any yellow stunted beans, okay? So ultimately, you know, I'm going to say as a window view, in the area that I traveled coming down here, concerning all the stresses we had, corn and beans look pretty good. We're in Warwick County, a customer, and been a good customer of ours, Larry Titzer Farms, Doug, and with his brother Doug and that. We're out here right now at one of our replicated research corn plots, and across the road is our replicated research soybean plot. Talk a little bit about disease, but first I'd like to bring to your attention of looking at this leaf here. You know, we can see there's some disease on here, some gray in that, but I want to point out that, see along the midrib, all that yellowing, and it's more almost looks like an inverted V, all right? This is nitrogen deficiency. I was in a field yesterday where the nitrogen deficiency was so bad because all those rains pretty much washed away the nitrogen. It was on the fifth leaf above the ground in that. And you could tell for the ear development how nitrogen is critical and crucial to develop a good year and build for that good yield come harvest time in that. There's nothing we can do about it right now. It's going to be more or less where our issues have been with a lot of water this spring, going into June, end of May, June, first part of July and that, all right? Now, the big issue I say is as we go farther north of Indianapolis, north of Kokomo, get up there west of Fort Wayne. That's an area there, part of the state that's really taken its toll with a lot of water. With a lot of water, we also have a lot of nitrogen deficiency. So, and it's going to affect your yield, but at the same time, it's going to affect the health of the plant that, you know, with a healthy stalk, it could fend off the disease. But if that stalk has been stressed to any point where we're lacking maybe on some nitrogen, as this leaf will show, you know, we could have some issues with stalk quality, lodging issues later on. So that's something to keep in mind. Here right now in our research plot, I just want to talk a little bit about diseases. Northern corn leaf blight, gray leaf spot, primarily. You know, in 2014, we had it pretty bad, especially northern corn leaf blight, all right? Some people were able to spray to control it. There's a lot of people we weren't able to. And it really, some of these hybrids that were susceptible to it took its toll on its yield, and as well as the quality of the grain and quality of the plant itself in that. This year, remembering what happened in 2014, been very active in the state, walking our cornfields and looking to see if we have the disease. Now, if we have the disease, and depending on how severe it is, especially for those people up north in that, going back to 2014, some people have sprayed, used a fungicide, and it costs approximately $29 to $40 an acre, all right? Well, corn's not $8 or $9 a bushel, and we already have issues with a lot of water damage stands and that we can't afford to go ahead and put a fungicide on. But at the same time, all is not lost because in the industry, especially in our lineup of hybrids here, our hybrids do have good tolerance and some have better tolerance to both northern corn leaf blight and gray leaf spot. So you got to take into account the disease issue there, and also keep in mind how bad it was last year. If you need to spray, some people already sprayed, but you also got to keep in mind, get some credit back to those genetics of the hybrid that they're going ahead and they're going to protect that leaf and keep it from spreading up the plant. Because the goal here is to keep these leaves healthy, that the disease is not going to deteriorate them. Because the bottom line is, folks, these are our food sources for capturing sunlight, photosynthesis, so we can help feed that ear and that, all right, and make for quality grain as well in that. So, but I just want to say here's 1121. It's a real popular hybrid. For us, it's a high yielding hybrid. Thing about 1121 though, it's a 112-day hybrid. It does have decent gray leaf spot, but it is susceptible to northern corn leaf blight. And I can show you right here, here is the ear. Here's our ear leaf. Well, here's the next ear above. This ear got deteriorated, but you could see we have a lesion here. That's what we describe it as cigar shaped. And that is the lesion of the northern corn leaf blight, all right? Now, as we look down below here, yep, there's gray leaf spot here. We have gray down here, a little bit of northern. The leaf here below, the 2 leaves below the ear, we're seeing some gray. Really, it's not that bad. As we're coming up the plant, things are a little bit better. We come to the ear leaf here. The ear leaf here, a little bit of gray, but nothing that's warrant to think about you have to spray in that, okay? We come above the ear. Remember what I said before, 1121, self-susceptible. We have one lesion here, all right? As we look farther up the plant, here's another lesion. We still have a little bit of gray. As we keep on going up the plant, our gray is less. You don't see any northern. A little bit of gray up here at the top. Don't see any northern. And tip up here, a little bit of gray, no northern. But as far as percentage on the leaf, there's not enough disease here to warrant spraying, in my opinion, based on the genetics of this hybrid. Okay, so that's what we can keep in mind. As you can see, in this being a replicated plot, yes, we had some good growing conditions after the stressful times after planting that. It recovered. We had a little disease, but we need to go out and look at your fields and keep in mind of the hybrids you planted and look and see. Pretty well we're done for right now, but at this time, if this was 3 weeks earlier and the corn might have just popped a tassel, and we looked out and see our disease pressure, I would have said the same thing. Now we're into a hybrid of ours. It's a new release. It's 1125 AM. So it does have some refuge in the bag with this hybrid, but still the same maturity, 112-day corn, just like 1121. But, you know, and its level here, as we can see, down here is we already have some gray. A little bit more gray, just about the same as what the 1121 does in that, okay? Poured out a really nice ear. It really has not been hurt. It's been filled out, you know, has really good pollination. As you can see, nothing really bothered this ear, or with this plant. She pollinated real nice at the butt. We went ahead and have good pollination all the way to the tip and that, all right? Get a little bit off, but with this hybrid here, 16 round, approximately 47 kernels per row. I didn't go all the way to the tip in that, but it pollinated real nice. As you could see, we're a lot farther along. Getting out of that milky stage right now, going to our next stage, but it's this, and you could feel its weight or so in my ear. So this plant hasn't been hurt by any of the disease. Now, when we go back to look at our disease again, as we're going up here, yeah, I see a little bit of gray, a little bit more gray here too. There's a little bit more gray. So we keep on going up the plant, we have less gray, a little bit up here, but a lot less than we have down below, all right? But I don't see any northern. That's why you need to just keep in mind the tolerance level of the disease in that. A very good hybrid for this area, 112-day, and pretty much this is what we like to see and expect of the 1125 as a hybrid on the farms in that. It won't let you down. So really, with the disease tolerance, it's protected itself because of genetics tolerance against the diseases. A stress issue really didn't bother from the water and that. It went on. So really, I would look at right now, looking at the 1125, 21, both are good hybrids. I think 25 might have couple more bushel better than the 1121. We're over here in our soybean plot. It's a replicated research plot for soybeans. Before we were in our replicated corn research plot. Our goal is, down here with Seed Consultant Success, is to test genetics of both corn, soybean, and wheat in research plots like this to see how they're going to adapt to the different growing conditions. You know, we sell and we service a multi-state area net, so we want to make sure we got the right varieties tested in that area so that we're doing our job in helping that customer get the best yield and have a good bottom line as far as the dollars per acre net. Right now, we've started out here, and this is for example, we're talking a little bit of 9393s. 9393s is basically a 3.9 maturity bean. It's been really designed for tough ground type conditions, and it's going to do extremely well against disease. And primarily right now for disease in our beans is frog eye leaf spot. Frog eyes basically is a small circular lesion. It's on the leaves, it's brown, and it's got a black center. And interesting thing is that around that circular lesion is a reddish to purple cast in that. So it's very evident, you can see on the top of the leaf as well as the bottom leaf. And I talked with a gentleman here from the local co-op that basically works with the titzers as far as providing his knowledge for chemicals, herbicides, fertility. He said he's walked this field before. He didn't see any frog eye in that. But at the same time, our conditions can change. So he'll probably be back in a week or so just to make sure that we don't have the issue and it's not going to hurt us. But with 9393s, it has that naturally born disease tolerance against the frog eye leaf spot and some of the other brown spots in that. So really, it's a really nice bean. Just want to try to point out, just like I was doing on the corn, how good we can do in the absence of disease and don't need a fungicide. Okay, 9412s is another good variety. In fact, this is one that Larry and Doug Titcher plant a lot of down here in southern Indiana. It's a real nice 4-1 maturity bean. It can be very similar in maturity to the 9393s. As you can tell, the 9412s aren't quite as tall as the 9393s, but one thing we need to keep in mind is that there's a little bit more issue with this variety where it's very susceptible to frog eye leaf spot. So just as we did in the corn, trying to make sure we know about the disease tolerance, we got to do the same thing on the soybeans. If we would happen to have an outbreak of frog eye leaf spot, gentlemen like Isaac over here will be able to go ahead and make that recommendation to go out and spray, depending on how severe it is and that. So, you know, it's been a very good bean for us down here in southern Indiana, as well as 9393s, 9435s. We have a new 9456, so we're really testing a lot of genetics down here, both new and some new releases we have for our customers and that. But the goal is right now is, yes, we have water issues, especially up north, a little bit more disease issue in the beans too. We need to go ahead and look at our fields and really come and see if that disease is at that point where it has to justify a fungicide if needed. All right, looking at this field, as you can see, yeah, our bean heights, they grew pretty good. And down here probably didn't have quite the water issue that we do up north. North of Indianapolis, at Kokomo, you know, west of Fort Wayne area up there. You know, these are issues out there. Water has played havoc in our soybean fields as well as our corn fields and that. You know, there's a point right now we got to just try to keep what we have without putting any sort of big time investment. If it's at that, so that's why I tell everybody, try to go out, walk your fields and that. Still, now we've got heat, the beans are growing and that. Just make sure we don't have any disease issues or any potential lodging issues going down the road. So, you know, it's as we go farther north, the water issue is for real. We need to go ahead and make sure that we harvest in a timely manner and we don't lose any yield, leave any yield out in the field.
Thanks to Bill Mullen, Director of Agronomic Services at Seed Consultants Incorporated. I'm Andy Eubank. This is Hoosier Ag Today, Indiana's Farm Network.